Blockchain technology, as you've heard, is definitely the next major technology leap of our lifetime since the internet. But most people, if you're honest, don't fully understand why. And the answer lies in data, and the ability of data to create a better world for ourselves if we better optimize, manage, access, and monetize data. Because data is all around us. Because of today's digital technology and devices, everywhere you go, everything you do creates data. In Singapore, there's a very sophisticated road sensor system, which uses sensor devices in vehicles to track vehicle types. Is it an electric vehicle or not? How many people are in the vehicle? What roads you're traveling? What distance you're traveling? So that Singapore can address traffic congestion, reduce the street level of emission of pollutants, and even charge for road use depending on distance and the roads traveled. As you might imagine, the amount of data this system creates is not just big data, it's large, extreme scale data with 160,000 trips a day, 4 million trips a day, 1.4 billion trips a year, and each of those trips creating multiple data points. You can imagine the scale of all of this data. And there's a company in the United Kingdom based in Cambridge called Geospoc, which has developed a database solution to manage this extreme scale type of data. It's using cloud services today, but it'll be adding blockchain solutions to help combine the ability to both use the data and monetize it. And it's not just using any blockchain, but it'll be using Bitcoin SV. Because our ecosystem, supported by my Bitcoin Association, I think best understands the ability of data to be the most valuable commodity of the digital economy. Because blockchain is the key to unleashing this value. Because with blockchain technology, you can do much more with data functionally, but you can combine with it the native token, digital currency of a blockchain to allow you to monetize the data. And that's why investors and businesses in this room should consider supporting blockchain technology, because with the right applications, you can create incentives to power a much better, more fair, more honest world. So today I want to take my time to help educate you and teach the people in this room about this future of data by first discussing what are the traditional problems with data. Second, how blockchain technology helps solve those particular problems. And finally, why Bitcoin SV? Why do we believe it is the public blockchain that best can deliver on this promise of better data for a better world? So let's begin by just talking about data. It is actually an important thing to understand why we have problems in the world with data. Problem number one, intermediaries lead to inefficiencies. Almost every modern business network has companies, people in the middle, that create inefficiencies. Take, for example, what it takes just to make a credit card payment anywhere in the world. Here's a diagram. I'm the card holder. I got the payment card from a card issuer, a bank, that has an agreement with one of the payment card schemes, Visa or MasterCard. They have agreements with merchant acquirers who have to go out and acquire individual merchants. And at each step of that process, you have to trust data being transferred to each intermediary, and there's a cost. Someone is taking additional cuts of money along the way. So intermediaries in our data system create inefficiencies. Our data system across many industries also have too many silos. Data separated from other data. So it's very difficult to get one comprehensive view of all the data, and it makes it hard to get it all in real time. This happens within a single organization. For example, a company might keep its sales data separate from its customer service department and separate from its marketing department. That leads to inefficiencies. And across an industry's entire value chain, such as supply chain, for example, you may have different companies, a supplier, a producer of products, transportation logistics, distributors, and the ultimate retailer, all working with different databases. And they cannot access the data all at the same time. Problem number three is that databases are typically private. So you cannot publicly access the data, and you can't verify the data if you're someone outside of a company. Amazon is not going to give me access to their database. So if I'm in their e-commerce retail chain, I cannot verify whether their data matches my data. And as a result, you need permission to get into that locked file cabinet of each database owner. And if that company makes changes to the data, you can't verify it. Not easily, at least. You'd have to go sue them and get some information. Data problem 4. There's no native way to transmit payments with data. And this is critical. This are the application layers that were generated when the internet emerged in the 1990s. All different types of protocols, rule sets to transmit data. That's what the internet protocol is, a way to transmit information. However, when the internet was created, in this tech stack, there was no native way incorporated to actually send payments with my email, to send payments every time I access an internet website. And so that is the missing thing with the internet, no native payment layer. And finally, data problem 5. There's no easy way for consumers to actually own and monetize our data. All of this data we have, your internet browsing history, what purchases you made on Amazon, you don't really own the data. And even though people tell you it's valuable, you don't have a way to monetize it. So those are all traditional problems with data, and blockchain is really the technology system that addresses those problems and creates solutions. And it all began with the introduction of Bitcoin, the original blockchain for the world, presented to the world through this, the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, posted in 2008. And it used blockchain technology to create a solution for the payment system, because internet payments were inefficient. You need a payment processor. And the white paper discusses Bitcoin as a solution to create a more efficient payment system with fewer or no intermediaries in the middle, and therefore the ability to do small, casual transactions, meaning you should be able to send small amounts of money across the internet, 5 US cents, 3 US cents, 10 US cents, because you don't have to pay a credit card processing fee. That's what Bitcoin's vision was. And it delivered on that vision by creating the concept of what we now know as blockchain technology. It is simply a ledger. That's all a blockchain is. It is a record-keeping system that's digital, but instead of one person or one company keeping the record of transactions who you have to trust, it is kept across a distributed network of computers. So there are multiple copies of the ledger to record the payment transactions. And so the ledger records not just payment, and this is important, other forms of data can be recorded and embedded into the blockchain. So it records the passing of control of Bitcoin from one person to another through a string of data transactions. So those transactions are collected into blocks, and the blocks are linked over time. But what's interesting is the Bitcoin white paper did not even use the word blockchain. It called this a distributed timestamp server. Why is that important? It's important because what the ledger does, the record-keeping system, is stamp the date and time at which information is put into the records. And that means if everyone sees that information, it's hard to change it. And if it is changed, you can catch dishonesty. And because the Bitcoin blockchain is public, the information on it is auditable, verifiable, transparent. And this is key to understanding how blockchain can create a better world with more honesty, because if the world's information and records are accessible to everyone, it holds everyone more honest. And the white paper even used the word honest 15 times, which is ironic because people think of Bitcoin now as associated with criminal or bad behavior. But it was a system actually designed to create more honesty by shining more light on information and data. So a blockchain should be able to deliver these features: public information that's transparent and auditable. It's immutable, meaning it's very difficult to change. It should be fast and low cost, and create privacy rights. So the solutions that blockchain delivers are, one, reducing intermediaries. And you'll hear about this from many companies speaking at the summit over the next 2 days. For example, Seafood Chain is a product from one of the companies here from Norway, Unisat, which is using supply chain management solutions on the Bitcoin SV blockchain to cut through intermediaries. It's done a test for seafood to trace halibut from the farm to a seafood distributor, direct to a sushi restaurant chain and on your plate. And by putting that information on a public chain, then people can access it without needing to go to each of those intermediaries in the supply chain. Solution 2, blockchain technology can break down data silos. Instead of keeping data in different databases or by different companies, it can all be available in one place. One company you'll hear from in a little bit is EHR Data in the United States, which is creating the world's first blockchain healthcare solution using the Bitcoin SV blockchain. It's trying to first address the opioid addiction crisis in the United States, where too many people have become addicted to pain-killing drugs. Why is that happening? In part, it's because clinical data is siloed. It's separated. The data of your doctor is in a different place than the data of your pharmacy. So doctors may not know the prescription dosage you may have received from a different doctor or what you have filled at a different pharmacy, and therefore don't have the best real-time information to make medical decisions for you. But what if we could take all that data and put it on a place that was universally accessible, and therefore actually help doctors and medical providers have more real-time access to your health records to create better decision-making in the dosages that they give to you? That's what EHR Data is doing, using that as a solution. Solution 3 is that data can now be publicly accessible and verifiable if it's on a blockchain. You don't have to trust what Amazon has in its internal database. Everyone can look at the same data. So you'll also hear from a company called Veridat, which is doing this with clinical research data, the data generated by pharmaceutical companies to test drugs. In rare cases, there's fraud, like Theranos. But often there's just changes to clinical research data by researchers along the way, and it's not tracked or traced. But what if we could all verify it so that drug enforcement agencies have more confidence in the drug research, and we as the public have more confidence in drug research, which is especially important now with COVID-19 vaccines. In the United States, for example, there are a lot of people who think the vaccines are not a good idea or don't trust the government telling them to take the vaccines. Well, if we place the research data and made it accessible on a public blockchain to be verified, it could help improve public confidence in the vaccines. Solution 4 is that there's no native way in the traditional world to transmit payments with data, but there is now with blockchain. We're creating payment layers because with Bitcoin SV, the data is on a blockchain, and the blockchain has a coin, the BSV coin, that you can use to pay for access and use of that data. You'll hear from Transmira, a company in our ecosystem in the AR and VR world, which is helping use technology to power the future of smart cities. But when we're engaging in smart cities with devices, and we want to bring location to life with digital objects that we can see on our phones or in AR devices, we also need a way to interact with them with respect to money, to buy things, to pay for things, to have value for those digital items. And that's what Transmira is doing with its system, using the Bitcoin SV blockchain to tokenize assets and real estate in the virtual world and allow you to interact with them in a money perspective. And Solution 5 enables consumers to actually own and monetize our data with blockchain technology. So EHR Data is going to be implementing this because the data we have about our prescriptions is valuable. And what if a drug manufacturer that's testing, for example, a COVID-19 vaccine or other drug wants access to your data? How do they get it? How do you make money from it? Well, their solution is to create a system where the drug manufacturer can pay for a purchase of data. They'll create a result set using a utility for the data purchased. And each of the people in the chain, the doctor prescriber, the pharmacy, EHR, the company, can then receive small payments through Bitcoin SV and the blockchain for you as the patient saying, yes, I am willing to allow the drug manufacturer to access my data. So why is Bitcoin SV the best solution to enable this whole world? Well, it's because we both most understand that Bitcoin is simply the fusion of data and money together. It's right there in the word, data, bit, coin, money. We understand that Bitcoin is a data protocol. People think of it just as a digital asset. It was released to the world with a rule set to allow the communication of data that has monetary value, just like Internet Protocol. Our team restored most of the original Bitcoin protocol that had been changed over the years of Bitcoin's history that reduced its capabilities to deliver all of these data purposes. And as a result, on the Bitcoin SV blockchain, you can write data to the chain, record data, read data, allow people to own data, monetize the data with the BSV coin, and even do computation, computing with data. You can send money value, transmit and access data, do smart contracts, tokenize assets, as we've heard about, manage devices, and do big data and computation. And the key to unleashing all of this is scaling. The BTC network, Bitcoin, as many people know it, did not raise their throughput capacity. So it only does 7 transactions a second, nowhere near Visa's network system. Our solution, do not cap the network. Let it grow unbounded, as big as transaction capacity can be handled by market forces. It means our transaction fees don't have this. BTC's transaction fees can vary from $4 US, $1 US, till just the other day, $7 US to send one transaction. With that, you cannot do small, casual, tiny transactions, which are important for a micropayments world, to avoid what's happening on Ethereum, which is transaction fees are going sky high because people are buying a lot of DeFi coins. We're going for big scale. You can see right now, Bitcoin SV comfortably does about 2,800 transactions per second. By next year, our network, we think, will be at 50,000 transactions a second, and thus exceeding Visa and MasterCard's throughput capacity on an average basis. And in the future, we're designing enterprise-scale software to go bigger. We call it Teranode, a future of terabyte, 1 million megabyte-sized blocks that can do millions of transactions a second and billions of transactions per block. Not for our daily payments, but things such as that Singapore transaction network that can be created out of transportation data, monetizing the value of that data, because on our network, it's very, very inexpensive to transact. It is a median of less than 1/100th of a US cent to send a BSV transaction, which means you can send 1 US penny, 2 US pennies to pay for access, for example, to consumer data. So these are the types of micropayment transactions that are already emerging on Bitcoin SV across many ecosystems that are seeing the power of being able to send small amounts of money at fast velocity with huge volumes of those transactions. We're seeing it in IoT with a company already out in Australia working with Predict Ecology, an environmental consulting firm, which is using sensors to place on trees in a city in Australia to track carbon dioxide emissions, and then tokenize those into carbon credits at mass scale for every tree in a city. And we're also seeing the rise, as I mentioned, of IoT, because by 2024, there'll be 83 billion IoT endpoints, meaning someone's got to be able to manage all that data and then provide ways to optimize monetization of the data. And that's what Geospoc, the company in Cambridge in the United Kingdom, is doing, and will be doing the Bitcoin SV blockchain. There are a number of companies here at the event that are part of our ecosystem. I encourage you to meet with them and talk to them. Tall, that does transaction processing, mining, Nchain, which is the leading blockchain research and development business in our ecosystem with one of the world's largest blockchain patent portfolios. EHR Data, Transmira, Unisat, and Veridat, which I've also mentioned. They're all contributing to this future where we believe that data can make the world better, more honest, more connected. And we believe in a world where there will be only one ultimate big public blockchain, just like we operate on a single public internet. I know it's a big vision because it is a vision for one. It's a vision for one world that is more connected. One data network that tears down walls and builds bridges. One Bitcoin that can unite the corners of our globe. It's a vision for one system that helps us reach out to people, peer-to-peer, connecting across a single universe of constant digital interactions. Bitcoin was introduced to the world as an electronic cash system to reinvent internet payments by getting rid of intermediaries and using a distributed ledger of transactions, organized into blocks, connected across time. But those blocks can contain more than just payments. They can contain the most valuable commodity of our digital world, data. And therein lies Bitcoin's bigger vision, the fusion of data and money to connect everything, a digital currency without geographic boundaries, one data protocol to power business applications, one universal source of truth to break down data silos and open data transparency, one ledger that can track products, assets, our rights, and the very sustainability of our planet, one system that can make our communities smarter, healthier, better. It all starts with data, and if it's managed across the world in a way that is more transparent, more connected, more powerful, we can connect everything and everyone, whether you're from Vietnam, China, Australia, South Africa, Argentina, London, New York City, Tel Aviv, Riyadh, or even Dubai. We believe the future can be much brighter and better with Bitcoin SV, because better data makes a better world.